Details on the memorial and funeral plan for the late Dr. Miles Munroe. A morning shooting in Pinewood takes the country's murder count up by 1. Reports of VAT on national examinations prompt government officials to weigh in. Plus, students march for diabetes awareness. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, Bahamas Faith Ministries international officials today announced when they plan to hold funerals for the leaders they lost during last Sunday's tragic plane crash in Grand Bahama. Pastor Dave Burrows, who is now the chairman of the Board of Governors at BFM, said the church is forging ahead despite the absence of its founder and leader. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
We lost the visionary, but we didn't lose the vision. We lost our leaders, but we haven't lost our leadership potential. We lost our mentors, but we haven't lost the mandate. And so as a church body, what I have received to this point is total support and resolve to continue and to ensure that the legacy, the work, the message of Dr. Miles Munroe lives on and continues to impact the world for generations to come.
Those were the words spoken by a man who knew the Munroes for decades. And Pastor Dave Burrows says while the church was shaken by the loss of its leaders, it will strengthen its resolve and move on. Dr. Munroe, his wife, and Dr. Pinder were among 9 people who died after authorities say their plane crashed as it was making its descent into Grand Bahama. The trio died along with youth pastors Lavard and Riddell Parks, their son Johannan, American public speaker Diego de Santiago, and pilots Stanley Thurston and Farquhar Cooper on Sunday. Today, Burrows, who has served at Dr. Munroe's side for more than 2 decades, said a memorial will be held for Munroe and his wife on December 3rd. The venue will be announced at a later date. The Munroe's funeral will be held the day after that at BFM on Carmichael Road. Pinder's funeral will be held on December 2nd at BFM. Burrows says given the impact Dr. Munroe has on thousands of people around the world, church leaders believe the church will be unable to hold everyone who would like to attend. For that reason, he says the service will be by invitation only. But he says the service will be broadcast live over the internet for those unable to attend.
What we are proposing to do, as we know that for the homegoing service, if all of the members came out, nobody else could attend. So what we are going to have to do with the funeral service is we are going to stream it live worldwide, and we are going to ask churches to go to their place of worship and receive the stream at their place of worship. If there are other persons who would like to arrange gatherings at different venues, we would also encourage that. But the service itself will have to be by invitation simply because of the numbers.
Burrows added that it's still unclear if it will be a state-recognized funeral. He says Thanksgiving services for Munroe will also be held in South Africa, Canada, and throughout Europe. Former journalist Debbie Bartlett will head a memorial organizing committee. He added that the support that has been coming in from around the world has been inspiring.
We never understood or imagined the true impact of Dr. Miles Munroe like we did in the past few days. The calls we have received internationally, the appreciation from Bahamians, the people who have called into the talk show and demanded a lot of things, that we do a lot of things in his honor, is just a testimony of his impact on all levels of society in the Bahamas.
Some of those suggestions, says Burrows, includes renaming Carmichael Road after Dr. Munroe. And as the church prepares to move on, Burrows says this upcoming Sunday will represent a new beginning for BFM as they move ahead.
The theme of the service will be carrying on the vision, preserving the legacy. And so this Sunday, we are going to outline for the church where we go from here. We will also, at the end of the service, have a special message once again from the family. And also at the end of the service, we will have a special time for the church itself to reflect and to grieve.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Police are searching for the gunman who allegedly robbed a Pinewood Gardens man before shooting and killing him outside his home this morning. Residents say they are shocked and saddened by his death, insisting he was one of the good guys. Vonnie Toot has the details.
Residents of Pinewood Gardens are outraged after one of their own was gunned down outside this home on Cottonwood Street this morning. Police say the occupants of a vehicle pulled up and shot the man before snatching his gold chain. It was an emotional scene on Cottonwood Street this morning as the victim's grieving relatives consoled each other and angry residents demanded justice for the young man they say held so much promise. Head of the Firearms Tracing and Investigation Unit, Chief Superintendent Ken Strawn, says police received reports of a shooting at 8:30 this morning.
There was a gray Honda type vehicle, license plate number 24746, from which 3 males emerged, and it appeared to be in the first instance that the motive may have been robbery. A chain was reportedly snatched from the victim's upper body. Thereafter, one of the individuals in this vehicle fired 2 shots in the direction of this victim, striking him to the upper chest.
The victim was found lying face down in a pool of blood on the side of the road. EMS personnel rushed him to hospital. However, he succumbed to his injuries a short time later. Strawn says the victim was in his 20s. He did not release his identity. However, residents say he is Antonio Morris, also known as Boogie. With tears in his eyes, one resident who did not want to show his face says Morris was a hard worker who stayed out of trouble.
Antonio Morris, he was a humble person, but he's in the feeding corner, but he don't bother no one. He was humble. Say, son, he's a working man from work home to church. Say, son, he's in the making money, so anyone around him could eat, but and he never bothered no one in his lifetime, but no one in his lifetime, dog.
We understand Morris had no children and was his mother's only child. Another resident says his death comes as a great shock and a great loss to this community.
We fondly call him Boogie. He was a real nice young man, very quiet, hard-working. You never hear smoke around this area. As a matter of fact, Cottonwood Street, we don't have no problem through this corner. Not only myself, but several other of the neighbors, they just said the other day that this part of Pinewood is very quiet. And we thank God for that. But we're sorry, but this is what happened today.
Pinewood Gardens MP Kalis Roll says the bloodshed must stop, telling reporters there is a lack of economic opportunity for young Bahamians.
We believe that in order to be respected, we have to be macho. We have to be macho. We have to be this alpha male, and people have to know me as a gunman or as a bad boy on the streets. That's how these young men get their identity. And we have to replace that with something.
Strawn urged the victim's shooters to turn themselves in.
We don't have any information on any suspects at this time. However, we are appealing to members of the public who may have witnessed this incident, or anyone, even the suspect out there. Please bring an end to this, as the minister has indicated. Bring an end to this aggression. Turn yourself in.
This latest killing brings the country's murder count for the year to 102. Reporting from Pinewood Gardens for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
Reports of value-added tax being added to costs of national examinations has prompted ministry officials to lay those reports to rest. The issue was sparked when a photo showing a purported CV Bethel Senior High School notice about VAT charges on national examinations was spread via social media. Well, the Ministry of Education said in a statement released this afternoon, it has come to the attention of the Minister of Education, Science and Technology that one of the ministry's school officials disseminated information that is inaccurate and untrue. We wish to clarify this matter and assure the public the information circulating in the public domain regarding the addition of VAT to school-related fees is unequivocally false. According to the information being circulated, it is purported that VAT will be added to national examination fees if not paid before December 31st, 2014. We wish to confirm that no such charges will be applied and fees will remain the same after the stated date. The Ministry of Finance's VAT department also released a statement on the matter. That statement read, VAT will not be charged on tuition costs for any course of study in a preschool, primary school, or secondary school. It therefore means that national examinations such as the BJC or BGC-SC, which are done at the secondary level, would not be subject to VAT. A 51-year-old correctional officer was arraigned in court this morning after he was arrested earlier this week on drug-related charges. Simone Davis reports.
A prison officer charged with possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply now finds himself at Her Majesty's prison under very different circumstances. Police arrested 51-year-old Irvin Miller on November 12. Shortly after 2 p.m. on Wednesday, a team of officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit, acting on intelligence, visited the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, where they conducted a search of the correctional officer who had just reported for duty. They allegedly discovered drugs in his possession, along with $700. 51-year-old Irvin Miller was taken into custody on the 12th of November after being found with a quantity of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. Miller, who was represented by Tonique Lewis, appeared in the magistrate's court today, where he was charged with 1 count of the possession of illegal drugs with intent to supply. Magistrate Constance A. Delancey asked Miller if he wanted to plead guilty or not guilty to the charge. He said he did not understand the charge and requested a moment to speak with his lawyer before answering. Delancey granted his request. After a few minutes, the magistrate asked Miller again for his plea. Once again, he did not answer. His lawyer then stood up and requested that his family be allowed into the courtroom so that he could comfortably make his plea. Her request was denied and Miller was asked the question once more. That's when he pleaded not guilty. Miller was told that he was not eligible for bail in the magistrate's court and was remanded to Her Majesty's prison. Magistrate Delancey said she would ensure that steps would be taken to ensure his safety in prison. The defendant was advised to apply for bail at the Supreme Court before he reappears in court number 8 on February 16, 2015. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There's more when NB12 returns.